It's Tuesday, July 28th, and this is now on HNN. Douglas narrowly missed the state. There was not much damage, but there was an impact on travel, stranding neighbor island travelers like me.
This is a real surge, and I think that the next 2 weeks we're going to see higher hospital numbers.
And coming up at the top of the show, an update from the LG on the surge in the state's coronavirus cases.
This kind of swift punishment and action against our specific industry seems unfair.
And now officials are considering rolling back bar reopenings amid the pandemic.
2 coronavirus trials are now underway in the United States. I'm Danya Backus with the latest on the fight against COVID-19.
Do you mean I could have did this at the house?
The Emmys virtual nominations are in. We'll have the recap coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for watching This Is Now. Ashley will join me and Mahea here in just a moment, but first I wanted to tell you the state is now reporting 47 new coronavirus cases. And we have some breaking news as well.
That's right. 46 on Oahu, 1 on Maui. And breaking news, check out this tweet from Lynn Kawano. McCully Shopping Center is blocked off by Honolulu police after a teen suspected of being COVID-19 positive was located there. Lynn says a parent showed up at the scene. Both are reportedly under DOH quarantine. Also still developing this morning on Sunrise, Lieutenant Governor Josh Green broke news of a new cluster.
Well, we're seeing, of course, the effects of having had 400 plus cases in the last 14 days. So we're going to see surges at our hospitals. About 10% of all the cases that we are able to detect end up in the hospital. And we're seeing a bunch of people coming out of Kalihi. A fairly large number of individuals coming from the Micronesian community have caught the virus in a cluster. And Queens and Hawaii Pacific Health, but Queens right now is seeing a lot of cases in their ICU. Mostly it's people living in close quarters. It's when you have lots of people living in a similar small household, same small flat where they can connect and spread to each other, and we can't trace them adequately because we still need a lot more contact tracers, and we're pressing for that. So keep that in mind, but we need people at like the tip of the spear out in the community doing those contacts the moment we know there's a surge. Well, I heard that it's more than 24 individuals that are over at Queens Hospital that are in the hospital now in the last just like 72 hours. And as many as 6, I believe, needed ventilation. So that's a pretty serious, surge of need. When people are in the hospital, the average length of stay is 10.5 days. Thank goodness most people can recover. We've had 26 fatalities out of the 1,700 cases that we've, been able to diagnose. But when you get people on ventilators, it becomes a 50-50 probability of dying. So this is a real surge. And I think that the next 2 weeks, we're going to see higher hospital numbers. So this is the time where people have to be even more careful than usual because hospital beds will be a little tighter. We still have good capacity. And doctors and nurses are going to be pressed very hard in the hospitals.
Today, Ashley is finally heading back from the Garden Islands. She's been there for a couple of days. She was stationed there for our HNN storm coverage. So what took so long? Her and so many others are finding it really hard to find a flight. She filed this story to explain.
Hey guys, photojournalist Peter Tang and I are about to head to the airport, but this is what happened yesterday. So when we arrived on Kauai on Saturday, we didn't have a return flight back to Oahu because we didn't know how bad the storm was going to impact the Garden Isle. Back in April 2018 with the historic floods, I ended up staying here 12 days, and that was a lot longer than we were planning for. So we didn't have return flights. But when it was clear that Kauai was spared from the storm yesterday, our bosses back on Oahu tried to book us return flights, but they found that there were only 2 flights on Hawaiian Airlines and both were sold out. Southwest was sold out, and that's because, if you remember, a lot of the planes were moved to different airports. Some were even moved to the mainland. So we were actually stuck here on Kauai for another day. As a Kauai girl myself, I didn't mind. I got to see family and friends, but I'm sure that surprised a lot of people trying to get off of Kauai yesterday. Meanwhile, Kauai County is reinstating some strict social distancing rules. Mayor Derek Kawakami said Governor Ige approved his orders to re-limit the size of indoor gatherings like parties and other social events. The mayor's orders say crowds inside are now limited to 10 or fewer people. Emergency Rule 13 only applies to social and casual gatherings. It does not apply to businesses like churches, stores, restaurants, or schools. That's the wrap up on Kauai. We'll see you guys back on Oahu.
Thanks, Ashley. With the hurricane canceling those flights, the tourism authority says 875 people flew into the state on Sunday. That includes 158 visitors. In the week before the storm, the state was actually averaging about 500 incoming visitors daily. We're just about 1 month away to the relaunch of tourism. Japan, they've actually put the state on a list of safe destinations its citizens can travel to. But within Hawaii, there's a lot of debate over which islands are actually safe. Let's send it over to Dylan and Cheta with more on that.
The rules are in place, and if we need to implement stricter rules, we will bring them up and take whatever necessary action.
Maui County Mayor Michael Victorino says he's gravely concerned about a recent spike in cases, saying it could affect the state's response to the virus.
I think there's many factors. I've mentioned some of the parties and the gatherings right here locally, and I think that's also been a big challenge in Oahu.
Governor Ige said that last week the state recorded 14,000 inter-island trips, but he says he's making data-driven decisions.
The overwhelming majority of those trips did not result in any additional cases on the neighbor islands or on Oahu for that matter.
Hawaii's case count is still relatively low compared to the rest of the United States, which reported a 7-day average of about 66,000 new cases. It's why Hawaii specifically, not the continental U.S., is on Japan's safe travel list. Lawmakers say it's a step towards restarting trans-Pacific travel.
We know that Hawaii residents are concerned about health and safety, and but also that travel needs to begin incrementally here. And it's what better way to begin travel but by working with Japan visitors, because they'll be a safe group of people.
Japan's prime minister says there will be rules like a negative COVID-19 test and an exam upon landing. The current timeline for trans-Pacific travel is set for September 1st. Dylan and Cheta, Hawaii News Now.
Now to the status of schools. It seems to be quite uncertain still. Here's Lacey Denise with an update.
August 17th could be the new day public school students return to school. The DOE says it agreed to push the date back 2 weeks to allow for more teacher training. The delay has to be approved by the Board of Education at its meeting on Thursday. The State Teachers Union wanted to push the date back over safety concerns. The DOE and the Department of Health resisted postponing the school start date. Officials said campuses could reopen safely next week, but the recent surge in cases raised new concerns. State health leaders even talked about only reopening schools in areas with low cases or infection rates. Thursday's virtual BOE meeting begins at 1 p.m. Meanwhile, the DOE has confirmed a case of COVID-19 at Ka'ala Elementary School in Wahiawa. The DOE only says it's someone in the, quote, school community and did not provide any additional details due to privacy policies. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
The Nevada governor is closing more bars after a spike in cases there. The state saw nearly 1,000 new cases on Monday. Nevada has about 44,000 total cases. The Hill reports that 123 visitors to the state tested positive shortly after their trip. So far, there are no plans to add restrictions to casinos. Florida added more than 9,200 cases today and 186 deaths. That's Florida's single highest death toll in one day, but some of those deaths could have been from previous days. Dana Backus reports.
Officials in Houston say so far they have twice as many COVID-19 deaths in July than in all of June, and the numbers show significant community spread.
Do not think that you're so strong that you cannot be a carrier, and even if you're feeling well.
Florida reported 186 COVID-related deaths Tuesday, its highest single-day death toll. Coronavirus response coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx says what is happening in the South is moving north. She urged states and individuals to take precautions.
So really asking every citizen to increase their responsibility with social distancing, please wearing a mask, to not go to bars, to really limit their social gatherings with persons to less than 10. And then together we think we can get through this.
In Baltimore, Dr. Joseph Costa, who was on the front lines of the COVID-19 battle, died from the virus.
Dr. Costa is a hero. He was doing incredible work, saving lives.
Currently, more than 2,000 people are hospitalized in Los Angeles County. More than a quarter of those patients are in ICU. But the mayor of Los Angeles says progress is being made.
We're seeing the curve bending down again.
2 large-scale coronavirus vaccine trials are now underway in the U.S.
We want to see how bad their symptoms are. Do they end up in the hospital, or is it a very minor infection?
If either is successful, health officials say a vaccine could be ready by the end of the year. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
In what would be the city's first major rollback in the pandemic, Mayor Kirk Caldwell is asking the state for permission to again close bars.
You know, I hope the Department of Health does more of this. We've pushed them internally to provide more information to the public about clusters and where they are.
The reports are not so much that the bars didn't do a good job. There may have been some problems with wearing masks, and we're looking into that. But it's just inherently a risky situation for everyone.
With reaction from a bar owner, let's send it over to Casey Lunn, who's in Chinatown with more.
We want to take you inside Smith's Union's bar. It's one of the oldest bars here in Honolulu. We're going to take you inside, and I want to talk. We've heard from the mayor, we've heard from Bruce Anderson, Dr. Bruce Anderson with the Department of Health, but I want to introduce Dwight Lockwood, owner of Smith's Union Bar. Dwight, we just talked a little bit before we went on air here about the struggle you guys have been facing the last 5 months, a lot of the bars down here in Chinatown. If the mayor does in fact ask that bars close down on Oahu again, what is that going to do to you guys?
Having to shut down for the first 3 months was tough enough as it is. We've been back open now a little over a month and a half, and if we get shut down again, I mean, I fought through it. A lot of the other bars can fight through it, but I need to have a timeline. When I went to bed last night, everything was fine. When I woke up, all of a sudden, I may lose my business.
Yeah, we've talked to gyms who are also, in that high-risk business category that feel like maybe the communication hasn't been that great. What do you say to, critics that say maybe bars aren't doing enough to make, enforce social distancing, putting their masks on? What do you say to those critics? Do you feel that you're doing enough to keep people safe?
My business is my livelihood. It's very important to me. I do not take this lightly. And there are a lot of businesses that don't care. They're ruining it for the rest of us. As you can see on my floor, we have everything marked out. Everything is social distance. I'm playing by the rules. I care about myself. I care about my employees. I care about my customers. Without the customers, I don't have a bar.
Dwight, to the decision makers, if they're watching this morning, to the mayor, to the governor, to the folks that are kind of making these decisions that really are affecting livelihoods, businesses, what do you want to say to them this morning?
Yeah, this is not just a bar. This is how I make my living. Hawaii is very expensive to live in, and if I'm expected to live here with no income, and many other businesses they've been lost. They're never going to come back. We're single-handedly going to destroy our tourism and our economy just due to a rash decision, in my opinion.
Dwight, I really appreciate you talking with us this morning. Appreciate you, brother, and hang in there. I hope things get better for you. I hope things get better for a lot of the bar owners down here. A lot of folks really with their livelihoods hanging in the balance. We appreciate you talking to us.
The state's shipping industry has resumed post-Douglas. Howard Dykes has more on that and some other business headlines.
The Port of Honolulu reopened Monday, allowing Matson's Kaimana Hila and Pasha's Marjorie C to sail into harbor and discharge cargo. Longshore workers were ready to go. In the end, supply chains from the West Coast were held up only a couple days. Young Brothers tugs and barges made it safely back to harbor last night after the Port of Honolulu reopened. Director of Terminal Operations Chris Martin has good news. The barges to Kauai, Kahului, and Nawiliwili will be loaded and will sail today. That plugs the last hole in maritime cargo deliveries set off by the passage of Douglas. Bank of Hawaii reports mobile bank deposits are up 36%. Apparently, COVID sheltering at home gave a goose to all mobile banking. Banco has spent $280,000 on personal protective equipment and plans to spend $2 million on plexiglass barriers and thermal scanning gear. McDonald's reports spring sales down a third and still made a $484 million profit. Remington is selling more guns than ever, but still drowning in debt and files for Chapter 11 for the second time in 2 years. And Hawaiian Airlines will report its spring results today after the market closes.
The FDA has a new warning about a toxic chemical in more than 75 brands of hand sanitizer. Michael George has more on how you can tell which brands are safe.
The FDA has added these 4 brands of hand sanitizer to a list of more than 75 that have been recalled. Some have been sold at major nationwide stores, including Walmart and Target. The recalled brands contain methanol, a chemical used to create fuel and antifreeze. It can make you sick if absorbed through the skin.
Nausea, vomiting, headache, maybe pins and needles, funny feeling. But the real classic symptom is blindness or vision disturbance.
At least 2 people in Arizona had to call poison control recently after using a recalled brand.
These people admit to using it about 10 to 15 times a day, 2, 3, 4 days in a row. And then on that 4th or 5th day, they started to experience some vision impairment.
In both cases, vision returned after the patient stopped using the hand sanitizer. Health experts say methanol can be present in sanitizers when they're not properly manufactured, so it's best to avoid cheap off-brand products.
We really have to buy hand sanitizer from a reputable source or a reputable manufacturer.
And if you're still unsure about hand sanitizer, experts say you already have a great solution at home. Soap and water are extremely effective at preventing the virus from spreading. Many of the recalled hand sanitizers come from outside of the country, and the FDA has issued a warning to one company in Mexico and placed their products on a do not import list. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Oh, scary stuff there.
Ooh.
But stick with the soap and water, right?
Yeah, 20 seconds and rub vigorously.
Yeah, well, I want to take you guys outside. Here's a live look from in town. It's 81 degrees out there with some gray clouds. Let's toss it over to Guy Hoggy with an update on your forecast.
Behind Douglas, because it's now very far away from the state, we've got the trade winds filling in at gusty levels. In fact, we are expecting parts of Maui County and the Kohala area of the Big Island expecting gusts upwards of 45 miles an hour through today, expected to back off tonight, and winds this strong could produce power outages. There's also a little bit of moisture. Douglas is dragging through the state right now, and we are seeing a few wind-related Malka showers, but most of the rain is of the light variety. So we're expecting a beautiful trade wind weather day. Granted, it is going to be windy out there, but with all the sunshine, temperatures still approaching 90 degrees. It's still going to be very, very warm out there. Not a whole lot of surf to speak of. There might be still a little bit left over on the east shore from Douglas's energy, but likely even smaller than this, and North Shores might pick up some of that as well. And there are no significant swells coming in anytime soon. And the trade winds will run breezy today and slowly back off as we head into the weekend, but we are expecting some pretty windy conditions throughout the week, but still lots and lots of sunshine. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now for all your severe weather updates.
Thank you for that, Guy. Time to see what the internet's talking about, and I'm so glad we're talking about this person. She's absolutely one of my favorites. If you're a This Is Now watcher, you might know who I'm talking about, and that is Lizzo. She really did a good deed. Grammy Award-winning Lizzo picked up lunch for some frontline workers in Nevada, more than 100 providers to be exact. She hit up a local sandwich shop there earlier this month to feed them. She included a personal video message thanking the staff for all they do. And you know, this is at North Vista Hospital, and the CEO was very thankful there. It's not the first time the singer has done something like that. Back in April, she sent lunches to emergency room staff across the country.
Hey, kudos.
I know, I love her so much. She's such a good spirit, positive vibes all the time.
Well, if you're looking for shows to watch as you're staying at home, we've got a new one for you. Oprah Winfrey is launching a new program on Apple TV. Oprah and Apple's streaming service announced the new series on Monday, and it's called The Oprah Conversation. The series will feature conversations and interviews between Oprah and a range of leaders, artists, and influencers. The debut episode is called How to Be an Anti-Racist and features Winfrey and best-selling author Professor Ibram X. Kendi. Oprah Conversation starts on Apple TV Plus on Thursday, July 30th.
And we were talking before the show, some other Oprah news is O Magazine's going digital.
Right.
Yeah, all part of that trend we're seeing of magazines and publications going digital only.
It's very difficult to be a publisher these days, especially with the hard copies, so at least it's staying on digital.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to some good news. Some more good news, actually.
Actress and comedian Leslie Jones hosted the announcement of the 72nd Emmy Awards nominations in a virtual event from Los Angeles this morning. Chris Martinez reports from Los Angeles.
I know you're in there. I took your pills.
HBO's Watchmen dominated the Emmy nominations with 26 nods, including Best Limited Series. The dystopian superhero drama, which tackles issues of race and police violence, also racked up nominations for stars Regina King and Jeremy Irons.
Do you mean I could have did this at the house?
Comedian Leslie Jones hosted the virtual announcement for the 72nd Emmy Awards, which will be handed out in September.
Before we get any further, who made this?
Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel snagged 20 nominations, including Best Comedy Series.
Jason Bateman, Ozark.
Netflix's gritty drama Ozark also stands to take home a lot of trophies, with 18 nominations, including Best Drama. This year, streaming and digital platforms could be the biggest winners, with a collective 269 nominations. Disney Plus, in its debut year, earned 19 nominations, including a Best Drama nod for the Star Wars series The Mandalorian. Apple TV Plus has 18 nominations for series like The Morning Show.
I don't want your job.
Which received 4 acting nominations but was snubbed in the Best Drama category. And Netflix is smashing the record for most nominations of any network, studio, or streaming service, with 160 nominations this year. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Any favorites there, Mahea?
I don't know, but I really want to watch The Morning Show, right?
It's so good. I highly recommend. And I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. And again, like we were talking about with Oprah's magazine, a trend shift in entertainment. All those were streaming services. We didn't hear much about the traditional networks for Emmy nominations. It's sort of wild.
Yeah, everybody is going online, but I really want to watch The Morning Show because I'm sure there's always a crazy producer, a diva anchor, right?
Not you.
It's the usual cast of characters when you're dealing with the newscast.
Well, you guys, before I get red, I'm going to leave it there. That was This Is Now on this Tuesday. We're going to leave you with a little treat, another bit of a segment from our Blue Note Virtually Live concert series. Good day, everyone.
Aloha.